All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to revise the genre that we took this term. Okay, so this term we took so many different types of genres. As we said before, genre is the type or the kind of story. In the beginning of the first term in Unit 2, we read several informational texts. What's the meaning of informational text? Informational text is a kind of story that is nonfiction. It's a story that you read about something so you can get information or facts. So the details that are in informational text are real. Okay? Like for example, we read the first story we read this term was how to plant by conserving water. Right? The second one was about the prairies and what kind of landform it is and the type of animals that live there. The third informational text story that we read was about migrating animals. We read about migrating insects, mammals, and birds, correct? If you go to your book in Unit 2 and you look through them, you'll find that those three stories, okay, those informational texts, will tell you about real people, real animals, real places, or real events, right? So an informational text is a type of story or passage that gives you real details about any topic, okay? Like your science notebook, like your science textbook or social studies textbook. They're informational texts. They give you facts about the world, about landforms, about different types of animals. Correct? What else? What else helps? What are some text features? What are some things that authors use to help you, to give you information? They use something called text features. Okay? Text features such as photos. Photos is another word for picture, pictures. Sometimes authors use photo and captions. Photo and captions means there's a real picture of the animal or the place and a sentence that gives you a simple description about the picture. We have headings and subheadings. We said that subheadings is like a small title before the paragraph. So the name of the story is called the title. The heading or the subheading is the small title before the paragraph. It gives you an idea what the topic of this paragraph will be about. Okay, so you know what you're going to be reading about. Okay, while you start reading, you'll find the main idea. What is this paragraph mostly about? So when you read, you have to read carefully. Okay? The third thing can be maps. Sometimes authors can use maps to show you, like in the story about migration, it shows you where the butterflies or the monarchy butterflies migrated from the north to the south. It showed you on the map where they migrated from and where they migrated to. Okay, they can use diagrams. Diagram, if you guys don't remember, is I'm pretty sure you guys know what diagram is. It's a picture with labels on it. Like for example, you can have a diagram of a plant. It shows you how a plant starts as a seed and when it starts to open or sprout, and then you see the stem and the buds. And then when the flowers start to bloom, and then when the flower is completely grown, or a diagram of an animal where it starts as an egg, and then the egg hatches and a small baby animal comes out of it. So a diagram is a picture with labels, names of the body parts or name of the parts of a plant or animal or whatever the diagram is about. Labels. Label can be a picture and just a name. In the story about the prairie, we had a picture of the bison, there was a picture of the American buffalo, and it wrote at the bottom bison. So this is a label. Authors sometimes also add glossary. A glossary is like a small mini dictionary at the end of the book to tell you the meanings of words that you might not know. Words that you need to know to understand the story better. Also, in the back of the book, you'll find an index. The index tells you the pages of certain topics you might be looking for. Like if I'm going to be reading a book and I just want to learn about the types of grasses found in the prairie, I will look in the index and find what page I can learn about. If I want to learn about rattlesnakes, I just go to the index and look for the letter R. I'll find that rattlesnakes are on page 7, for example. Okay, these are some text features that you can find in informational text. Does the author use all of this in one story? No, he doesn't have to. Okay, so in the story, and when I give you, of course, in the exam, I'll give you a shorter story, and I might put a picture, a photo and label, a photo and caption, a map, a diagram. Okay, so you have to be careful. And also, there's always a purpose for reading a type or a genre of story. The purpose of reading an informational text is to get information, to get facts about a certain topic. Okay, so this is the anchor chart where it shows you informational text and some features and graphics that you can find. Photo and captions, photo and labels, map, and diagram. This is an example of, or a diagram of, a butterfly. All right. So you can also find something in order, chronological order. Chronological means that something is in a sequence. You'll find words in such as first, next, then, and you get the answers or the sequence from the story. All right. Okay, that is our first genre. Our second genre is called realistic fiction. The word fiction means the story is made up. Okay, but what is realistic fiction? Okay, so realistic fiction is a made up story that could happen in real life. So the story is not real and the characters are not real. But why is it called realistic? Because the things or the events that are happening in the story can happen to a real person in real life. So when the reader, when the person that is reading the story reads, he can have fun, he can relate, he can make a connection. The word connection means to make the reader remember something that happened to him or her or a person that he or she knows. Okay, what else? So again, realistic fiction means that the story is not real, it's made up. The author created it in his imagination, or maybe he saw it. Okay, are the characters real? No, they're not. All right, but the events can happen in real life. What else? It has a plot. We said before, the plot is the events of the story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. What else? Sometimes there can be a problem. Something happened to the character in the story. And during the story, we see how the characters solve this problem or try to find a solution. Okay? So realistic fiction, the story is not real, but the events can happen in real life. Okay, plot, the set of events, beginning, middle, end. Sometimes has a problem, conflict, and we see how the characters solve it. Characters, the people that are in the story. Setting, the setting is the place or the time. Where did this story happen? In the garden, in the bedroom, okay? Or what time? During the day, at night. And sometimes the setting in a realistic fiction, the setting can be real. Like we took a realistic fiction this term was about Arnold and his apple tree. Where was the apple tree? In a large field, and he used to go and spend time there and used to take care of his apple tree. Okay, and the story discusses how the tree changes throughout the season and what Arnold does in each season. Okay, so as we said, the setting could be real. The plot can be true. It can happen to a real person. The characters can be several characters, but the characters are not real. And the story has a plot, which is a beginning, middle, and end. So what is the purpose of reading a realistic fiction? When you guys read the story, you said, "Oh, Miss Amy, we enjoyed it, and we want to plant an apple tree." So the purpose of reading realistic fiction is to be fun for for readers to read and learn about something. Okay, but it's more of the purpose is more to of like the purpose is to be fun for the reader because they can relate to it and make a connection. In our third unit, we started reading traditional stories that are old, right? The first one was a fable, okay? The fable is an old traditional story. You'll find words such as once, long ago, once upon a time, right? These are all words that show you that the story is old. What else? Fables are short stories. Okay, remember we mentioned that? So traditional tales such as fables. They have been told over and over. It's from a very long time ago. So people tell the story over and over again. Okay, it's a traditional tale. It's remember we said the word tradition means something that is done the same way every single year. Like for example, birthdays. People celebrate birthdays by buying cake, decorating their homes with balloons, decorations, and inviting their friends, bringing gifts. These are all tradition. Okay, people in Christmas, people decorate their Christmas tree and have a Christmas dinner. This is a yearly tradition. So a fable is a traditional tale, a tale that people tell in the same way over and over again. Is it long or short? It's a short story, and most of the characters are animals. Authors or people who told the stories used to use animals because they're fun. Children used to like listening to stories about animals. Okay? And in a fable, you'll find that it has a lesson or a moral. Okay? So fables, old traditional story. It's been told over and over again. Most of the characters are animals, and it usually has a lesson or a moral. We said a lesson is to teach you something, and a moral is an idea, like an idea to teach someone how to behave in a proper way or in a good way. For example, not to lie, not to be arrogant, to think that you're better than someone. Correct? Here is a short story we read about the fox who wanted to take some grapes from the tree. He tried several times, but he couldn't. So he told himself they probably don't taste good. So he convinced himself. He changed his mind, telling himself that that's not good. Because if he tells himself it's not good, he won't want it anymore. All right? Okay? So, of course, when we read a certain genre, we have a purpose. And the purpose of reading a fable, or people used to tell the children fable, is to teach them, for them to have fun or entertain them, and to teach them a lesson or a moral. Okay? And these are some things that remind you that this is a fable. Okay? The characters are usually animals, the story is short, the setting may not be real, the story ends with a lesson or moral, and the moral is the theme or the idea. Okay? And then we took another traditional tale called a legend. This is a genre that is also a very, very old story and also has been told over and over again. Okay, so what's the difference between a fable and a legend? It usually tells you about a person who did a good deed, a person who did something good for other people. As we mentioned, we said Robin Hood. Robin Hood used to like to help the poor people when they struggled with money or they needed help. He was part Hercules. Okay, so of course these stories are made up, and the story that we read was about a young girl, Ojibwe Ojibwe girl, or a Native American girl who went on a difficult or hard journey just to get the healing herb because her family got sick. She went to another village in this really difficult weather. Okay, and she was a young girl just to get medicine because she cared about her people and her family. Okay, and you guys, we made a connection. We talked about how do we feel when someone we love in our family or our friends get sick. We try to take care of them. We try to let them relax until they feel better, right? So a legend is an old story that tells about a person or a hero that does something important for the people that she cares about. Okay, and we also said that it has a special meaning in a culture. That this story came from the Ojibwe's Native Americans, right? They passed this story down to keep their traditions alive because these Indians used to, Native Americans used to care about nature. They used to care about their tribe or their group. Okay, and these old stories were from the past, and you also find words like once, long time ago, and once upon a time. You'll find these words to show you that these stories are from the past, and they are passed by word of mouth, means they were told from the mouth by other people. Okay, it says some legends are based on real person or event. Some can be real, and then the story got exaggerated. Okay, like you feel like the story is not real, although it can be about a real person. Okay, like Hercules, for example, it's a Greek legend. He's from a, yeah. Okay, they have a plot. We said a plot is a set of events. It has a beginning, middle, and end. And the purpose is to tell about a hero or an important event that happened in a certain culture. Okay. So a legend is a well-known story. It's partly true and partly fiction. So the story can be about a real event or a real person, but of course because it was told by mouth, it started to change, right? Like, for example, the girl on her way, she heard the ice talking to her and the wind talking to her. No, this is not real. Hercules used to say he was the son of a god and he has superpower. He might have been a strong man, but that doesn't mean he's the son of a god or he has superpowers. No. Okay? It has a special meaning to a culture. This story that we read about the lady slippers was used to explain is a special story to these Native Americans. Okay? And it has been passed down from the past until today. All right, we also took folktale. A folktale, we read two folktales which are similar, but they use different characters and they have different versions. So we also said this is the third traditional story. The third traditional story here is folktale. So it's a well-known story from the past, a story that almost everyone knows and has been also told again and again. Okay, because it can be told in Spain, like Puss in Boots, and it can be told in an Arabian country, like the story of the Giselle. It's the same story, but they use different animals, and it has the same idea, and can have different versions. Okay, so let's read what it says here. Folk tales are traditional tales or well-known stories that have been told again and again. So it's an old story. It has been told many times by mouth. Okay, it has a problem. Like, for example, Musa, he was poor, and when the last money that he had, he used it to buy a Giselle to set her free. So the Giselle decided to help him. Okay, so that was the problem, and the Giselle did something bad to help him. Guys, did something good to help him. I'm sorry. The characters are either all good or all bad. Okay, so the stories that we read here, the characters were good and they tried to help their friend. In another story you can find in a folk tale, there's a tricky character, right? Like, for example, the story of Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf was a tricky character, okay? And it can be told in different ways. That means it can be told in different versions. There was supposed to be a, yeah. Okay, so folktale, an old story, can be told again and again. They have good characters and bad characters. There's a problem to be solved. And that's why they have different versions. There was supposed to be one more genre, but I guess it got deleted. One of the last genres is fiction. Fiction is a made-up story where the characters are sometimes animals, and you find there's a dialogue. We read a fiction story about Pip, right? Pip was a penguin. So fiction is a made-up story where sometimes the characters can be animals. You can find a dialogue. Dialogue is the words that the characters say. Of course, we know that it's fiction because penguins or animals cannot talk. And also, you'll find a plot where it has a beginning, middle, end, and there was a problem, and it was solved in the end when she saw her baby brother. Okay, those are the genres for this term. I hope it helped you. Wait, let me just 1 second. Let me just try to find.